Millionaire discovers black cleaner studying alone in the dark. Then the shocking truth unfolds. The night was thick with tension, wrapped in shadows and secrets, as Jason McAllister, the millionaire entrepreneur known for his bold business moves, stumbled upon something that would change everything. There it was, a flickering light in the dilapidated old warehouse on the outskirts of town, just beyond the suburban sprawl. The crumbling walls whispered tales of neglect, and the air crackled with an eerie electricity. What was that light? Why was it glowing in a place like this, where few dared to tread? He had come out here for a simple reason. Rumors had swirled about a mysterious woman, a cleaner known only as the Phantom, seen in the dead of night, slipping in and out like a ghost. Some said she was studying something unnatural, others warned of madness lurking behind her eyes. Curiosity gripped Jason, excitement pulsing through his veins. What was she up to? Who was she really? As he tiptoed closer, the air felt thick and ominous, like stepping into a dark pool. His heart raced, and an unshakable sense of dread coiled around his chest. The sound of a pen scratching across paper echoed faintly, sharpening every nerve ending. Suddenly, he froze. The door creaked open, revealing a figure with wild hair and intense eyes. The room illuminated briefly, books scattered everywhere, strange artifacts covered in dust. What was she studying? It looked like a shrine to forbidden knowledge. And then, without warning, she turned. Their eyes locked for a heartbeat, a moment that stretched into infinity. Her gaze pierced him, revealing a depth of understanding that sent a shiver down his spine. Jason felt a lump in his throat. This wasn't just an ordinary woman. There was something fractured in her, something terrifying. Panic swept over him as sweat beaded on his forehead. He had to get out. Just as he stepped back, a loud crash echoed from behind him. He whipped around, and the world spun in a chaotic blur. Shadows danced in the flickering light. Was someone watching him? Thoughts raced. Danger lurked just beyond the edges of perception. His instincts screamed for him to run, but every fiber of his being was drawn to the enigma unfolding before him. What was the truth hiding in that dark room? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With his heart pounding, Jason steadied himself. Desperate for answers, he took a deep breath and leapt toward the door. The shadows swallowed him whole as he entered, determined yet terrified, drawn into the world of the woman in black. What secrets lay ahead, and would he ever escape the web she spun? Jason stumbled into the dimly lit corridor, breathless and wide-eyed. The thudding of his heart echoed against the cold concrete walls. Just moments ago, he had been teetering on the edge of curiosity and fear, and now he was running headlong into uncertainty. The flickering light still danced behind him, casting a smear of warm electricity against the chilling darkness that closed in. He hesitated, torn between returning to the enigmatic figure or plunging deeper into the unknown. Instincts clawed at him. What if she was a danger that lurked before him, waiting to ensnare him in her world of madness? But as much as fear begged him to flee, a magnetic pull urged him back to her. With a sharp breath, he pressed forward. Echoes of the woman's pen scratching against paper haunted him. The cargo holds of knowledge only she seemed to possess. What were those books about? Why did she seem so different, so charged with untapped energy? An inexplicable determination washed over him, driving him deeper into the warehouse. The smell of dampness hung heavily in the air as he crept through the shadows. He spotted boxes stacked haphazardly, each teeming with secrets of their own. His heart thudded louder as he approached a door at the end of the hall. It stood ajar, a sliver of light spilling out like a beacon. Jason reached for it, fingers trembling with anticipation that he swung the door open and an unimaginable scene unfolded. It was an expansive room, walls lined with more books than he had ever seen. Some volumes were ancient, their bindings cracked and frayed, while others looked like fresh prints. A huge oak table in the center was strewn with papers covered in cryptic symbols and diagrams. But at the far end, amidst the clutter, stood the phantom, her back turned as she stood before a glowing orb pulsating with energy. "Well, what are you doing?" he stammered, his voice barely audible over the thrumming intensity of the orb. She turned slowly, eyes gleaming with a wild glow, hair like black vines spilling over her shoulders. "You shouldn't be here," she warned, her voice as serene as a still pond but edged with a threat that sent a shiver racing down Jason's spine. I need to understand. What is this?" Jason couldn't help but ask, stepping closer, captivated despite himself. "I study the unseen, the things most fear to acknowledge," she said, her gaze boring into him with an intensity he could hardly hold. "And you may have stumbled into something far bigger than yourself." As the words sank in, a cacophony erupted outside, the howling winds, the cracks of thunder. The storm, it seemed, mirrored the turmoil inside him. "I found you for a reason, didn't I?" Jason found himself murmuring. "There's something I need to know." "Knowledge comes at a price," she warned, her demeanor shifting like the shadows that flickered around them. "Once you know, there's no going back." A sudden crash resonated from behind the door he had just entered. Jason's heart froze. Instincts flared anew. Something was attempting to breach his fragile sanctuary. "What's happening?" he gasped, glancing between the door and the orb. "Is someone here?" Her eyes narrowed, then softened, a flicker of something in her expression: concern, fear. "You have to choose, Jason. You can run or you can face it with me." The air crackled as the shadows closed in, ready to swallow him whole. Could he really turn back now? Or was this the moment to embrace the darkness? Jason's mind raced with indecision, each heartbeat pounding in his ears. Two paths lay before him, but which one led to salvation, and which to ruin? Would he run from the darkness or plunge into it head first? The storm raged on outside, and the weight of the unanswered loomed heavy. What choice would he make? Jason's breath quickened, the crash behind him reverberating in his chest like a thunderclap. The door rattled violently as if something desperate was forcing its way through. He glanced toward the phantom, her expression now a tumult of determination and fear, urging him with intensity to decide. "Jason!" she called, her voice slicing through the chaos around them. "No matter what you choose, stay close to me." He was running out of time. Each second felt like an eternity, dragging him down into an abyss of doubt. The shadows around him thickened, curling like fingers, taunting him, offering him a world of knowledge soaked in darkness. I don't know," he shouted, the panic rising in his throat. "What's beyond that door? Who's trying to get in?" "Something ancient, wicked," she replied, the orb's glow casting eerie reflections on her face. "It wants more than just to see you. It craves your very essence." Every instinct screamed to run, to bolt through that door and escape the suffocating fear choking him. Yet, when he looked at her, standing defiant against an unseen enemy, he felt something stir deep within, the urge to protect, the urge to know. The crashing intensified. "Please, Jason. Choose now." His heart raced as though a clock was counting down to an inevitable doom. If he fled, would he escape? Or would he forever live with the regret of not knowing the truths hidden within these walls? With a deep, shaky breath, he found the words rising up. "I'm not leaving. I'll face it with you." As the decision hung in the air, a feral howl erupted from the other side of the door, sending a shiver down Jason's spine. The door splintered, sending shards of wood flying backward like shrapnel. He was sure he could see something dark, writhing, almost alive with hunger beyond that doorway. Then, without warning, the door burst open, revealing a vast, swirling void, a maw of shadows that seemed to pull light itself from the room. Jason staggered back, stumbling into the warm pulse of the orb, its illumination contrasting sharply against the encroaching blackness. "Now!" The phantom shouted, reaching for him, her hand glimmering like a lighthouse in the storm. "Join with me. We can harness its power." But the void spilled forth like a wave, filling the room with an oppressive darkness that dampened sound and clawed at his sanity. Jason felt himself teetering on the edge of an unfathomable abyss. His vision blurred, and for a moment, he hesitated, almost succumbing to fear. "No!" he yelled, tearing himself from the paralyzing grip of despair. He grasped her hand, feeling her warmth ignite something within him. "We can't let it win." Willpower surged through him, and they surged together toward the orb, united against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, the orb exploded with light, blasting away the shadows that clawed toward them. A pulse of energy surged into the room, illuminating everything in a bright wash of colors. Jason smiled for an instant, feeling a bizarre rush of power course through him, but then, the shadows recoiled like snakes from fire, twisting back as if wounded. From the depths, a shriek echoed, a sound that spoke of ancient fury and relentless hunger. Jason's heart hammered in his chest as he watched the darkness consolidate into a figure tall, menacing, and cloaked in despair. Its gaze fixed on him, piercing through the radiant shield of the orb. "Foolish boy," it intoned, its voice a cruel whisper. "You have unleashed what should have remained dormant." Horror washed over him as he realized the truth. They hadn't banished the darkness, only awakened a terrible force that would now come for them both. Jason clenched his fists, adrenaline coursing through his veins. What now? Would knowledge truly protect him, or doom him? As the figure moved closer, intent on reclaiming what was once lost, Jason's thoughts raced. He had opened the door. He had chosen to face the darkness. And now it was time to learn just how steep the price would be. Could they fight back? Or was this the moment they'd both regret? The shadows pressed in like thick fog, wrapping around Jason and the phantom. The air crackled with tension, a suffocating blanket that threatened to drown out his thoughts. As the dark figure advanced, Jason's heart pounded louder, drowning out the echo of its cruel voice. "Do you really think you can fight me?" it taunted, the malice in its tone heavy with contempt. "Your feeble light, do you not see it flickering? You can't hold back eternity." The phantom stood firm beside him, her eyes aflame with resolve. "Jason, remember what you felt when we united with the orb. We are stronger together. We must not back down." Jason tore his gaze from the figure, forcing a breath deep into his lungs. The fear clawing at him felt almost physical, like a weight pressing down on his chest. For a brief second, he closed his eyes, summoning the warmth of the orb and the courage that had ignited within him. "Let us unleash it," he shouted, adrenaline surging through him. He could feel it pulsing in his veins, raw, volatile energy waiting for a spark. They reached out together, their hands brushing against the orb, each pulse of light growing in intensity. The darkness before them writhed and twisted, furious at their defiance. Jason opened his eyes, locking onto that dark gaze once more, unyielding. "We'll show you what we're made of," he yelled. The energy from the orb flowed through him, boiling in his veins, igniting every cell in his body. The figure recoiled, and for the first time, doubt flickered across its shadowy features. You are defying fate," it hissed, anger pouring from its very essence. "Yes," the phantom shouted, her voice cutting through the heavy atmosphere like a knife. "We will mold our destiny. Your reign of terror ends here." With a surge of conviction, Jason and the phantom unleashed the light, sending a brilliant beam forward. It tore through the darkness, illuminating the room in a blinding flash. The shadows screamed horrific, high-pitched cries that reached deep into Jason's very soul. But as the light collided with the figure, the room trembled, and Jason felt a heart-wrenching pull. A sinister whisper filled his mind, wrapping around his thoughts like a vice. "You cannot escape me. You are mine." Images flashed through his mind, fragments of memories that didn't belong to him. They twisted and warped, revealing loss, despair, and a cycle of torment that effaced hope. Jason stumbled back, clutching his head, battling against this brutal onslaught. "Don't listen to it," the phantom exclaimed, reaching out. Her hand clasped his, and in that instant, the connection rekindled his strength, solidifying his resolve. "Stay with me," she urged, urgency laced in her voice. "Fight it. We have to believe in the light we share." Breathing through the chaos, Jason conjured every ounce of willpower. He no longer saw the darkness as mere malevolence but as a tale of struggle, something he could rewrite. He stood tall, grounded. "You don't own me," he shouted defiantly. "Together, we are more than mere shadows." With renewed vigor, he raised their combined light higher, the energy transforming into brilliant tendrils that snaked toward the figure, eager to vanquish it. But before they could make contact, a flash of darkness lashed out, striking Jason hard. Pain coursed through him, visceral and raw. He crashed to the ground, every sense reeling. Doubt gnawed at the edges of his mind again, clawing for the surface. The phantom knelt beside him, her expression a mixture of concern and fierce determination. "We can't give up, Jason. We're on the brink of something powerful." "But..." Her words were cut short as the figure advanced again, clouding the light with an impending chaos. "Foolish mortals. Your belief is your downfall." The darkness surged toward them, an unstoppable force gearing up for one final assault. Jason coughed, breath hitching in his throat, feeling the heaviness of time and choices. Had he truly accepted the weight of the darkness? "We can't face this alone," he gasped, fear flashing in his eyes. What more would it demand? As shadows converged to consume them, Jason's heart raced. The power they had unleashed now felt like a double-edged sword, teetering on the brink of either obliteration or salvation. What lay ahead? Was there hope in this darkness, or was it the end of everything they had fought for? The moment of truth was crashing down, and suddenly, he felt the alignment shift. Something, or someone, beyond the shadows may hold the answers he desperately sought. Would Jason and the phantom find their path? The answer loomed just out of reach, wrapped in unfathomable darkness. The shadows lunged, a suffocating tide that threatened to swallow them whole. Jason's breath quickened, his heart racing against the weight of despair. He felt the icy grip of darkness close in, its pulse matching his growing anxiety. What if this is it? He thought, fear gnawing deeper into his resolve, but the phantom, her spirit like a beacon, shook her head, defying the encroaching gloom. "This isn't the end, Jason. Remember the orb. Use it. It's our lifeline." Her voice snapped him from the brink, igniting a flicker of determination within that he pulled himself up, drawing strength from her unwavering belief. Together, they were a force. He could almost see the light burning within them, a flame daring to push against the night. "We have to believe. We have to fight," he bellowed, lifting his hands to the orb, feeling the warmth radiate through his fingers. As they focused their energy, the orb glowed brighter, casting radiant tendrils that reached toward the advancing shadows. It felt like the dawn breaking after a long, oppressive night. But the dark figure snarled, fury etching its distorted features. "You think you can challenge what has existed since time itself?" The words slithered through the air, slick with venom and threat. "For too long, you've cloaked this world in fear." Jason shouted back, his voice ringing with newfound authority. "It's time for that to end." The beam of light exploded forward, piercing the inky veil with a surge of incandescent power. But just as hope began to swell, the shadows recoiled, intertwining with the light, forming a vortex that twisted and howled. The clash felt like the universe holding its breath, each side fighting for dominance. Jason staggered, the pain from their previous encounter reawakening within him. Darkness crept into his chest, wrapping around his heart like a vice. I can't let it win," he gasped, desperate and trembling. "Keep fighting. You're stronger than this." The phantom's encouragement sliced through his desolation, bold and empowering. The spark of their earlier connection flickered back to life, fueling his resolve. Pushing aside the pain, Jason grasped tightly onto the phantom's hand. They forged an unbreakable bond, their spirits weaving into a robust shield against the impending terror. He found his voice again, charged with the energy of their shared purpose. Together, we'll drive this darkness back. With a roar that shook the room, they poured every ounce of energy into the orb, channeling memories of laughter, love, and hope. Those fragments became their armor, those images their weapons. The light pulsed rhythmically, pushing against the shadows, inch by inch reclaiming their space, but the furious figure laughed, the sound a chilling echo reverberating off the walls. You think mere light can overcome me? I am the despair that haunts every corner of your mind. Jason felt it again, the chilling dread creeping back, memories flooding in, the loss of those he loved, moments he buried deep. But he shook his head, resolute. Not anymore. You're nothing without fear. You feed on our despair, but we're ready to take our lives back. The light erupted, a sonic blast, the brilliance overwhelming. In an explosion of blinding clarity, shadows writhed and screamed, echoing through Jason's mind. Then silence. As the light faded, Jason found himself on the cold floor of the room, gasping for air. The phantom's weight pressed beside him, and he dared to glance around. The oppressive shadows had receded, but the figure remained dark, colossal, flickering between realms. It's not over, it spat, teeth sharp and gleaming. Jason's heart clenched. What do you mean? The figure shifted, a sinister grin spreading across its face. You may have won this battle, but the war, oh, the war is just beginning. The darkness knows your fears, and it will rise again. With a final flick of its shadowy wrist, the figure dissipated, leaving behind a chilling whisper that rattled in their bones. Next time, it will be more than fear, it will be your past. Jason turned to the phantom, her face pale. Fear evident in her eyes. What does that mean? But the question hung heavy in the air, unanswered. The flickering remnants of fear began to claw at him once more. What hidden horrors from their pasts would return to torment them? And would they be strong enough to face them head-on? With dread pooling in his gut, Jason braced himself for whatever came next. Jason's mind raced as he clutched the phantom's hand, her grip warm but trembling. The weight of the figure's warning hung ominously between them, like a heavy curtain ready to drop. How could they fight against shadows made of their own history? What do we do now? He asked, voice barely a whisper. The room felt oppressive, every breath thick with uncertainty. He searched the phantom's eyes for answers, but all he found was the flicker of fear he felt deep within himself. We prepare, she replied, her tone steadying, but unease crept into her voice. We need to understand what it means. Our past? It's not just memories, it's a part of us. He swallowed hard, sudden anxiety gnawing at his resolve. But how? They're just shadows. No, she interjected, shaking her head firmly. They're embodiments of our fears. They know us, Jason. And we need to know them. With a shaky breath, he closed his eyes, clearing his racing thoughts. Images of his childhood flooded back, the laughter, the love, but also the moments of loss and pain. A chill ran down his spine. Could he really face those ghosts? Suddenly, the air shifted. The shadows, once defeated, began to creep in at the edges of the room. He felt their presence, a coldness that raised the hair on his arms. They weren't gone, they were watching. What is happening? He whispered, the panic rising again. The phantom urged him to breathe deeper, focusing on her calming energy. Then, in a soft voice, she said, the shadows thirst for our fears. They will pull from our memories, and we must stand against them. With clenched fists, Jason nodded. All right. Let us do this. He couldn't cower behind fear anymore. They were here, and he had to confront whatever came next. They closed their eyes together, intertwining their breathing. Jason searched his mind for comfort, summoning a flicker of warmth. He thought of his family, their laughter enveloping him like a warm blanket. But then, memories of loss clawed at the edges, sharp and relentless. The day he lost his sister. Her fragile smile fading, the hollow echo of loss still resonating in his heart. He gasped, pain slicing through him. No. I want to let you take her from me again. The shadows thickened. Tendrils of darkness curled and twisted around them, whispering, taunting, remember the grief, the emptiness, hold on, Jason. The phantom shouted, her voice piercing the fog of despair suffocating him. We're stronger together. Use what you feel, transform it into a weapon against this darkness. In an instant, Jason was flooded with warmth, the love of his sister resonating within him, pushing against the chill that threatened to overwhelm. He opened his eyes, now filled with blazing determination. Together. Jason roared, focusing on the phantom, channeling the power of their connection. We turn pain into strength. The orb reignited, magic swirling, casting radiant light that pushed back the shadows. It was a war of light and dark, pulsing with Jason's heartbeat, each breath fueling the flame, but the shadows retaliated, a monstrous roar echoing through the room, vines of darkness slashing towards them, desperate to reclaim dominance. Get ready. The phantom shouted. We can't back down now. Heart racing, Jason clenched his jaw. They had weathered so much. How many more blows could they withstand? He could feel the shadows clawing, each thrust painfully personal, but he wouldn't yield. Not anymore. The air trembled with tension, charged with unspoken truth. In this moment, he could either cower in fear or rise like never before. Suddenly, a voice broke through the chaos, smooth as silk but full of malice. You really think you can conquer me? You will never escape your past. It will consume you. Heart pounding in his chest, Jason steadied himself. We will face it together. At that moment, the shadows lunged. Would Jason and the phantom have the strength to face their fears, or would the darkness swallow them whole? With a surge of energy pulsing through him, Jason braced for the onslaught that was about to unfold. The shadows struck, a tidal wave of darkness crashing down on them. Jason felt the chilling tendrils wrapping around his limbs, pulling him toward the abyss. Panic flared in his chest, and he fought to breathe, a tightness wrapping around his throat. But he remembered the phantom's words. They were meant to confront this. He had to stand firm. With sheer will, he pushed against the darkness, channeling the warmth of his sister's memory. I won't forget you. I won't forget the love. He shouted, and the light surged stronger, casting a golden halo around them. The shadows recoiled, screeching in frustration. Jason could hear their whispers becoming frantic. Foolish boy, you think you can protect her? She's gone forever. No. Jason cried, his voice breaking. You don't have her. She's with me in my heart. The phantom joined him, her hands glowing with the light that pulsed between them. Feel it, Jason. Let your love guide you through the darkness. It's the only way. Together, they raised their hands, the orb of light between them expanding further, illuminating the darkness. But the shadows were relentless, clawing, shrieking like furious banshees. They dove forward, drawing closer with each throbbing beat of fear in Jason's heart. A thought sparked in Jason's mind. This isn't just about me. It's about everyone, he gasped, his voice steadying. Our struggles, our community, our shared pain. It gives us strength. Suddenly, he pictured faces, every friend, every stranger grappling with loss, hurt, the burdens of their own histories. Each face ignited a flame in his heart that burned hotter than before. Together, we fight. He roared, releasing a flood of golden light that cascaded through the room. The shadows howled, their form flickering like a broken signal, but they retaliated, surging forward in a desperate attempt to smother the light. Dark vines lashed out, wrapping around Jason's legs, trying to pull him down. But he didn't surrender. He couldn't. Jason, hold on. The phantom's voice sliced through the chaos. Focus on the light. It's growing. Use it. Each burst of darkness that threatened to consume him only fueled his desire to fight back. Jason channeled every painful memory, every moment of joy, love, and sorrow into the expanding light. He understood now this wasn't just a battle for them, but for anyone who had to face their shadows. With a final surge, Jason and the Phantom shouted in unison, "We are powerful together." The orb exploded outward, waves of brilliant light flooding the shadows. The room quaked, light clashing against darkness in an epic showdown of raw emotions. The shadows faltered, screeching as they began to vaporize, dissolving into wisps of smoke, but as their victory approached, the dark figure loomed closer, its features sharpening an amalgamation of Jason's fears and regrets twisted into one sinister form. "You think you've beaten me?" The figure hissed, eyes piercing through the radiant glow. "I'm just the beginning." Jason's heart dropped as incomprehensible dread washed over him. "What do you mean?" he shouted, fear creeping back in. "Your past is a labyrinth you cannot escape," the shadow spat. "There's more to face. Darkness is never just one battle. It's an eternity of struggle." But before Jason could respond, the room began to crack, the walls trembling violently. He could feel the energy shifting, the light wavering. The shadows transformed, pulling back into darkness, twisting and reforming, becoming tighter and thicker around him. They win," he muttered almost to himself, determination igniting deep within once more. Yet the crack in the world widened, and the ground trembled ominously beneath their feet. "Jason!" The Phantom screamed as the space around them began to unravel. "We need to go. Now." Would Jason and the Phantom escape the chaos, or was this only the beginning of an even darker fight? As reality split apart, he felt the tug of despair clawing at him. Jason held tightly to the Phantom and prepared for what lay beyond. What horrors awaited them as the very fabric of their world shattered? The ground shook beneath them, a violent quake that sent Jason stumbling. The light flickered treacherously, like a precarious flame. He clutched the Phantom tighter, their bodies braced against the onslaught of dark energy swirling around them. Whispered threats of despair clawed at his mind, but he pressed forward, unwilling to yield. "Feel the light between us," the Phantom urged, her voice a soft echo amidst the chaos. "Trust it. Trust each other." He was losing his grip on reality, but he couldn't succumb yet. Memories of laughter, warmth, and love surged within him, each one rekindling his spirit. He focused on those moments, summoning their strength. With a howl, he flicked his hand in an arching motion. Light burst forth around them, steadying under their combined energy, but the crack in reality deepened, a jagged maw of darkness yawning beneath their feet. "This isn't over. You cannot escape what you are." The figure screeched, its voice alien yet achingly familiar, stirring raw terror in Jason's chest. "They're just your fears," the Phantom shouted, determination infused in every syllable. "Face them, Jason. Confront what haunts you." The shadows thickened and coiled like a serpent, tendrils reaching for him, yearning to ensnare him in despair. Bile rose in his throat as he stared into the abyss, the reflection of his life, all those moments he had wanted to erase. Regret, pain, loneliness, they wrapped around him, choking and suffocating. "Enough!" Jason roared, his voice battling against the beast of darkness, pushing back with the force of 1,000 memories. Panic turned to clarity, internal pain morphing into profound revelation. "I am more than what you project." The creature writhed, flicking through emotions Jason recognized. "Am I truly worthless?" he challenged the void, "or have I just let you speak for me for far too long?" A blinding light exploded from them. Pulsating rhythmically, it pushed the shadows back, unraveling their form. Jason found strength in the collective memories around him, the laughter echoing from his childhood, the gentle touch of his sister when he was in pain. "Together!" he shouted again, this time a battle cry for himself and the Phantom. They pushed against the dark figure, forcing it outwards, force-feeding the light until the darkness splintered in cacophony, even with the blinding light, shadows still tugged at his feet, dragging him down into a pitch-black void that promised safety and submission. "No!" he screamed, clawing at the air. "I refuse to be pulled back. This is my fight, not yours." But the darkness was relentless, laughing maliciously. "Let go, Jason, let go. Just release it all, your pain, your failures, even your love. You will find peace in oblivion with every ounce of will." Jason fought back, remembering the phantom standing strong beside him, reminding him that love was the key, not only for battling darkness but for embracing the light within. "I choose to remember." As he declared this, the ground cracked wider, swallowing more shadows. The fabric of their reality seemed to shudder, and with a deafening roar, a storm of light surged forth, pushing, shoving against the darkness with all the intensity of his newly forged determination. "Believe in who you are." The phantom cried. That an explosion of radiant energy erupted as if the universe held its breath. Time seemed to expand, every sound muted in this moment of sheer intensity. The shadows could do nothing but scream as light illuminated every corner, every hidden space, revealing the truth buried within them, and just as Jason felt the crescendo reach its peak, a haunting whisper cracked through the dazzling brightness. "You think you've won? This is merely the precursor. The true darkness awaits beyond the veil." The air vibrated with electricity, ripples of energy cascading violently as the light pulsed, and Jason staggered, the ground descending beneath him. What unseen terror loomed beyond? Would the reality they fought for become their greatest nightmare? As their surroundings began to collapse, he could only cling to the phantom, heart racing with dread and a flicker of hope. What lay on the other side of this confrontation? The light swirled around them, a brilliant tide pushing valiantly against the shadows clawing at their legs. Jason felt the gravitational pull of the abyss beneath him, a sinister invitation that whispered promises mixed with the echoes of his past failures. With each second, the pull grew stronger, it wanted him to succumb, to stop fighting. But he couldn't. Don't let it in. The phantom's voice sliced through the haze of desperation. Her eyes gleamed with unyielding resolve, shining like beacons against the darkness. "We're almost there." As if responding to her rallying cry, the light surged, pulsing harder. Every shred of Jason's regret, every flash of loneliness blasted away, replaced by a fierce hope. His childhood memories, playful laughter, sun-drenched afternoons, his mother's soothing voice erupted in his mind like a symphony, powerful and alive. With raw desperation, Jason willed himself back to the present. "We belong here," he shouted, and the darkness recoiled slightly, a hint of faltering in its ominous grip. The creature twisted and hissed, forming shapes that mirrored his worst moments, distorting them into exaggerated horrors. Yet he stood firm, no longer a child cowering from the monsters under his bed. "You don't define me," he yelled, charging the specter with the force of his past and the promise of his future. The shadows writhed, fraying at the edges like an old film reel burning in the light. "You can't escape me, Jason." The figure screeched, its voice undulating between familiar and grotesque. "I am your heart, I am your despair." "No!" he thundered back, so fiercely that the ground beneath them shuddered. "You're just a reflection, a cowardly imitation of everything I've ever feared." In one frantic gesture, he drew the phantom closer, their energy locking together, a brilliant fusion. "Together!" she shouted, entwining her fingers with his. The light flared brighter, golden hues cutting through the murky tendrils like a knife. Jason gasped, the sheer intensity of their union felt like a jolt of electricity coursing through him, yet, the darkness shrieked, rising in a desperate swell. "You believe you have power over me? Face your truth, Jason. You know what lies beneath your bravado. You are incomplete." The shadows coiled tighter, almost choking him, dragging him back. Each word felt like a dagger, deep and searing. With a primal roar, Jason squeezed the phantom's hand. "I choose to be whole." As the words erupted from his lips, he felt an indomitable strength bubbling within, a fire ignited by years of pain and solitude. In that moment, a dazzling explosion lit up the darkness, a stellar eruption fueled by every ounce of love he had ever known. The shadows howled, a cacophony of anguish as light enveloped them, splintering their forms into faded wisps. But even as the shadows began to disintegrate, a new darkness emerged, slithering closer from the corners of his mind. A deeper fear, more insidious than before. Jason felt it cool and suffocating, creeping in like a mist. What is this? He breathed, fear gripping his chest. Something far worse. The Phantom's voice trembled. The shadows dissolved, revealing swirling shapes that pulsated like living nightmares. They didn't come from the darkness but from within Jason. She urged, anguish painting her gaze. Focus. Discover what lies beneath the surface. You can break free. His heart raced, blood roaring in his ears. What more could there be? With weariness pooling in his gut, Jason steeled himself against the rising tide of dread. The veil was lifting, but what awaited them on the other side? The shadows flickered, revealing a glimpse of something, an image shifting from the depths. Jason fought against the void's grip, determined to confront the truth that threatened to unravel him completely. What was it that awaited him? In that split second, all light seemed to fade, leaving only the chilling whispers of what might be lurking in the dark. The swirling shadows slowed, swirling in a hypnotic dance as Jason's breath quickened. The anguish etching itself into the Phantom's features mirrored his own inner turmoil, painting a vivid landscape of fear and urgency. You can do this, Jason, she pressed, her voice firm yet laced with an underlying tremor. You must look deeper. Entrapment clawed at him from the shadows, filling his head with a cacophony of doubts and insecurities. Images flared, flickers of moments he had buried deep, the argument with his father, the fragile hour before losing his sister, and the friendships lost to misunderstandings. Each memory fought to swirl back into his consciousness while the darkness whispered venomous lies about his worth, painting him as a failure, unworthy of love or happiness. I won't let this define me. He shouted, gripping her hand even tighter. I choose to confront you. Suddenly, the veil of shadows scattered, revealing a scene that felt achingly familiar. It was a moment from his past. No, not this. He gasped, pain slicing through him like a jagged knife. A younger version of himself stood in the center, head bowed, eyes wet from tears after the fight with his father, the anger and shame festering inside. Face it. The haunting echo of the dark figure twisted through the air. This is what you hide, the shame. You're afraid of repeating the past. Jason balled his fists, feeling the pressure in his chest rise. But I've grown. I'm not that boy anymore. I won't let these memories chain me. He took a step forward and felt the solid ground beneath him. Fuel surged through him as he drew on every ounce of self-worth he had fought to build since then. The warmth of the Phantom's presence steadied him. We're in this together. I feel your strength, he reassured her, the light from the orb pulsing between them like a living heart, reminding him of the promise he had made to rise above despair. Summoning courage, he pressed into the memory, facing the child he once was with a firm voice. Hey, it's okay. You're safe. I understand your pain. You are strong enough to move forward. We will break free of this. The child looked up, confusion mingling with hope, the tears unshed weighing heavier than his small frame. But what if they never forgive me? Jason knelt before him, determination blazing like fire behind his eyes. You can be forgiven. You can forgive yourself. That's the only way to heal. You deserve to carry the light forward. With those words, a brilliant flash erupted from the orb, washing over them, creating a vibrant golden cocoon that radiated warmth. The young Jason shimmered, and as he absorbed Jason's radiant confidence, the shadows broke around him, dissipating like smoke caught in a gust of wind. Join me. Jason shouted, and with each moment, his younger self merged into him. Every feeling of shame, every drop of doubt echoed back into the dark, diminishing its force. Suddenly, the room exploded into an ethereal light, cracking the remnants of darkness that lingered. Jason felt a surge of empowerment flooding his veins, waves of courage rippling through every fiber of his being, as the phantom gazed at him with awe. Together, they faced the looming darkness, now reduced to swirling whispers desperate for attention. "You think you've won?" The dark figure snarled, slinking into the corners of the room. "You merely scratched the surface of your past. I will come for you again." "No," Jason countered, voice steady and unwavering. "You are nothing but echoes of what I refuse to own. I am my promise. I will not give you the satisfaction of my fear." The orb grew hotter, its light capturing shadows like fireflies in a summer night. The darkness quakes in response, muting its whispers, feeling threatened by their united force. "Together." The phantom echoed, rallying behind Jason's surge of brilliance. "This is our victory," he roared, feeling the energy swell, radiating outward like a beating heart in perfect rhythm. The shadows writhed, shrieking with fury, diminished memories of fear rushing back into the void. Jason met the darkness with sheer light, and it felt like hope dancing on the wind, invigorating and alive. All at once, the layers of shadows rampaged against the powerful beam, dissolving them, their cries fading into a distant murmur. The final howl had struck a chord of alarm and retreat. With one last push, the combined essence of everything Jason had ever fought for, he let loose a torrent of brilliant light that consumed the shadows, scattering them into the darkness from which they de-emerged. Breathless, Jason and the phantom stood where shadows once loomed. Light spilled around them, fracturing the oppressive silence into glorious vibrancy. The air felt charged with potential. We did it," the phantom whispered, a tremor of disbelief tracing her tone. Jason turned to her, joy bubbling in his chest. "We are stronger together. No more shadows can haunt us." But just beyond, the veil flickered again, hinting at trembling fears born from regrets, the promise of a new battle. They weren't done yet. "Let us move forward," he said, anchoring himself in determination. "No matter what awaits us on the other side, we will face it together." As they confided in each other with shared purpose, the light wrapped around them, ready to embrace whatever lay ahead. And suddenly, he didn't feel alone anymore. This was a new beginning. Now, it's time for you to step into this journey and share your thoughts. You need to subscribe now, so you don't miss the next exclusive episodes that unravel more incredible stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is everything. And don't forget to flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what happens next. This is the moment to show your support for this ever-growing community. Don't wait even one more second to share this adventure with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion.